have local board input. Local board deputy chair and a member of the Papakura are present, and they want to talk about item 11, so I'm quite prepared to bring item 11 forward and do that under local board input. So if you two would like to come to the front there, Jan Robinson and Kelvin Hyatt, rather than force them to listen to hours of stuff. So we're going to deal with item 11 first up.
Item 5.1, local board input.
Well, 5.1, we've got local board input, and we're going to follow that with item 11, but they are talking about item 11, yes, I believe. Yeah. So the floor is yours now, Jan, and we're discussing level crossing straight away, so it's good that you're here. We're going to go straight to the level crossing thing, so please, off you go.
Thank you very much. So good morning, Mayor and councillors. I'm Jan Robinson, Deputy Chair of the Papakura Local Board, and I have Kelvin Hyatt, one of our members, with me. And we really thank you for the opportunity to speak on this item this morning. The Papakura Local Board is consciously aware that bringing forward the $550 million capital budget to commence work on the removal of the level crossings in Takanini is not a cheap one. But the board asks that you do so because we need to give effect to the grade separation work that needs to occur in our part of the Auckland region. Between the Papakura Stream in the north and Subway Road in the Papakura town centre, we have 4 level crossings. And with the advent of the City Rail Link, grade separation is an absolute must. Currently along Great South Road, when the barrier arms are down, the Great South Road is at a standstill. And that's not just during peak hour traffic, it's at just about any hour of the day. This will mean turning Spartan Road and Manaroa Road into cul-de-sacs, which is highly controversial in itself, but we will help front the community on that. The scope of work requires new road bridges and pedestrian bridges, all of which will present design and construction challenges, and the board accepts that too. Our request for this acceleration is to help give the affected property owners certainty so that they can get on with their lives. There are already property owners who are profoundly affected and they need closure as soon as possible. So the funding will assist with acquisition, which is necessary to enable the grade separation, but also to release people from the constraint whereby they can't capitalise their land as it will soon be required. Secondly, the board would like to request that as the grade separation work commences, the governing body needs to urge both Auckland Transport and the New Zealand Transport Agency to complete all the bridges rather than simply plod along one bridge at a time and a business case and a review about whether to do the next bridge and so on. If Manuia, Taka and Walters Roads are to be chosen location for bridges, then please progress that work at pace. Not a bridge in 5 years and a second bridge in 8 years maybe, and a third bridge at an undefined time because of project creep and a change in scope. The board is not saying the latter would happen, but we believe the network needs to be completed in its entirety, and that needs to be part of our joint stewardship to help progress this highly disruptive work to a successful conclusion. Thank you for hearing us today.
Are there any questions of these? Perhaps Councillor Newman might like to state something in support of what you've got.
Well, I'll speak to the item when it comes up, Chair, but I just think the local board...
I've brought the thing forward, but... Okay, I'll move that we receive this, and it'll be seconded by Councillor Newman. Okay, all those in favour of receiving this item from... Contrary? No, carried. Thank you very much for that. Are there any questions of these two fine people from Papakura? I think we're all fairly keen on it, and I did bring it forward, but we didn't actually tell Barry and Murray that they're going to be here for it.
They're on the way?
Barry knows. I can't see him.
They're on the way.
He must be here already.
Is he on his way?
They're on the way.
Barry's coming, but I'll lead into item 11 anyhow. Last month, the Minister of Transport, well, you can, thank you very much. Here's Murray here anyhow. Okay, there. Last month, the Transport Minister announced $200 million to bring forward work on the Takanini
Point of
level
order,
crossings.
Chair. I'm happy to move
Hey.
the reordering of the business to take item 11 if you want to do it now.
I'm happy to second order of precedence.
Precedence, that's fine. Just keep going.
Yeah, I'll get to that. I'm just introducing this. Council, the AT and government agencies all agree that these are the highest priorities, with 20 trains an hour crossing when the CRL opens. And I'm aware that there are many level crossings in the Western Line to address, and that's a discussion for the integrated transport plan. Today, Council is bringing forward funding we have allocated in the LTP to match the government's funding. In the short term, we're just asking to match the government 200 million, but staff advise the prudent approach is to bring forward all of our funding. So I've added 3 chairs' recommendations because I'm not totally convinced by the work done to date by AT. The current plans involve taking large areas of commercial and residential property, which is both very expensive as well as damaging to the current businesses and residents. And I've raised the issue of perhaps renting land rather than buying it and minimising the land input. I want to be sure that final plans offer the best value for money and the best community outcomes. So I also want to ensure that when we do take property, we're able to sell it in sensible passes so that we can recoup costs. This is something we haven't done at all well out in the Eastern Busway. And AT have assured me on both these points that this is part of the process, but including these recommendations sends them a formal message and ensures they will share their findings with us. And the recommendation is there in front of you, which I'm prepared to move. And if you read F, G and H, it's about ensuring that we get the best value and limit the land purchases to the dead minimum and keep the cost of that down to the dead minimum, which will help in achieving what we're trying to do. So I'm going to move this. Will you second this, Councillor Newman? Okay, now I'll ask Barry and your team, Murray, to speak to us about this.
Ask Andrew to kick it off. Andrew, do you want to kick it off? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think the Mayor's done a good job of prefacing the conversation today. We have the opportunity to bring these crossings forward. They're much needed by the community in terms of the impacts of barrier arm downtimes and those sorts of things. We are also very conscious of the need to ensure that we deliver value for the community, taking into account the 10 value points that have been given to AT in recent times. So we'll be working very closely with our team and the constructors that we take on board to make sure that we realise all of the opportunities that we can and to make the best use of the land that's available and make sure that we have available land that can be appropriately utilised in the future and minimise the land take required.
Yeah, well, that's good. I was a bit grumpy about the Eastern Busway. I don't think we've quite maximised our opportunity out there, so I want to make sure that we are thinking about minimising the amount of land that we have to get for this. I mean, there's a lot of money tied up in that part of it, and we really want the money to go into the bridges rather than the land, if we could. So, do you want to add something to this, please, Barry?
I'll just certainly reinforce that point, and that has been discussed with Auckland Transport, so thank you for raising that, Mayor. A couple of other things as well. We have a block of line, as members of councils will be aware, a substantial block of line at the end of this year, following Christmas and through January, and the intention would be to do as much of the critical work, particularly around footbridges and so forth, talking about foundations and so forth, during that time to capture the opportunity. But the works won't be completed obviously for the opening day of CRL. But hopefully the papers are self-explanatory, and the opportunity to bring this work forward and get some pretty important stuff done early is clear.
And Michael, will you just remind everybody that we are bringing forward some expenditure, but we need to remind them when they come to the years when that expenditure was supposed to be ahead that we've already spent it. Because I don't want to bring forward and then spend that money twice. So this is an early spend, so there'll be some initial early borrowings, but in the long term, it's no worse off than if we just delay it. Am I right about that?
That's correct, in the long term, yes.
Okay, well, I just want somehow or other to note that when we get round to the long term, that the people remember that they've already spent something out of the long term, because we tend to forget that. Okay, other questions? Councillor Ferry has a question.
Yeah, kia ora, thank you. It was useful, Barry, to hear you say that it won't be done for day one CRLs. That's correct?
That's correct. Works will be done, but these won't be completed by any means by day one.
Okay, thank you. That was my key thing I wanted to clarify. So useful, you got ahead of me there. Great. The other thing I wanted to understand a bit more is the interaction with the appeals that have been lodged against the notice of requirement, and what impact that has on the timeframes as well. Thank you.
So, as you'll be aware, we've received 3 appeals as they relate to the level crossings. We have the Supporting Growth Alliance that's working through with the appellants to understand their appeals and to look to close them out. We feel that the number of appeals is pretty good given the significance of and the extent of the notices of requirement that have been put there. So we're looking to work closely with those appellants to close that out as quickly as we can. At this point, we hope that will be done within the time frame and don't expect that it would impact, but that's still a process that needs to be closed out.
Thank you. And so, can I just clarify then that AT can't move to the next stage in the process until those appeals are either resolved or withdrawn? That's correct?
The appeals are on different notices of requirement, so yep. Some elements can be progressed while others will need to wait until those appeals have been closed out.
Right, okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Simpson, please. Somehow or other you influenced the machine to have your name up here. My humble apology from... Yes, right. Naughty girl. Councillor Hills.
Thanks, Mayor. The question is just, and I know we did it with some of the phasing of the funding with the CRL, but obviously this is quite a different project. But is there any way to rephase or ask the government to rephase some of their funding in the earlier years to help our debt? As I'm sure the government will be wanting to do the same thing, but just, I know we did it with the CRL, and I was just wondering if we'd asked.
We did look at it for the CRL, but weren't able to do that in the end. I think this is bringing their funding forward, so that's what the Minister has indicated, and what we're wanting to take to the NZTA board for next month, for them to consider bringing forward funding that would otherwise not have been further around as ours is.
Okay, so they're bringing it forward, but I'm asking, so they won't bring it forward ahead of ours to help us.
We can always ask.
Thank you.
Councillor Bartley, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for this. I just wanted to know, it talks about 8 new bridges and remove all level crossings from the southern line, and then the eastern rail lines, it doesn't specify what exactly is happening with the eastern rail line. So are you closing the level crossing there in Glen Innes and putting an overbridge there?
Yes, that's the intention, that we'll close the existing level crossings, providing access to the station platforms, and we'll replace that with a pedestrian overbridge. So once we've completed that, there'll be no conflict between pedestrians or cars with rail on the eastern line. It will be completely cleansed of level crossings.
Great, good to know. Thank you.
Quite good news for your people, this is. There are no further questions. Oh, sorry, councillor Darby.
Barry, are we making an assumption that there will be $200 million committed through the NZTA board? So, by government, yeah. So the announcement from Minister Bishop was 200 million, and so that on the basis of that, we are taking this. We're looking for approval to take this project to the NZTA board next month for their approval of 200. So Minister Bishop didn't say $200 million was approved. His words were couched up to 200, and I'm looking at his statement, and it's quite specific. And you know what politicians do? We're very careful about our words. So he says up to 200. Now that's quite a range, isn't it? So what gives us the confidence that $200 million is going to be allocated when we don't have a specific number, at least from the minister responsible?
So look, we've been working closely with the NZTA team, their funding team, and helping provide inputs into the board paper that is going up to NZTA. We understand that they'll be looking to approve that amount. Yes, or very close.
And also just noting that the recommendation for today is subject to the approval of that first 200. And so if that doesn't come through, then we would need to come back to you.
In the B. Okay, if that's the case, I'm happy with that. Thank you. Yeah, I think item B covers off your worry there a bit. And so there was some thought went in. It was a good question. I'm glad you raised it. Further questions? Well, you can retire in case there's some debate. Thank you. Does anyone wish to debate this? Councillor Dalton, would you like to comment on this? And then Councillor Newman.
Thank you. And thank you for this paper. Thank you for the chair's recs that have come up as well. The original recommendations, of course, were preempted by our workshop on the 5th of March. And so it's good to see this going through a business meeting now. I particularly like your G around using the land, looking at urban design and development with the land. And in terms of the land, just note what a blunt tool notice of requirements are for businesses and for residential homeowners. And I'm currently meeting with residents who are experiencing that blunt tool of the NOR for the FTN in Takanini as well. And it just leaves people in a really awkward situation when they want to sell their house and move down the line, and it's hard. And for Takanini, the local businesses that have been impacted by the notice of requirements through the level crossing process as well. What has been important to Takanini is that some of the bridges that are going to be designed do meet their expectations, and that's not looking favourable at all. It looks like it's going to be a bridge and it's going to be the best cost bridge, but it's not going to fit in with the urban design of the significant investment that has gone into Takanini village to bring that community together, a community whose population has, it's exceeded populations in other areas of Auckland, and there's quite a community growing out there. And there's different parts of the community along all of those crossings. We have a strong Indian community. We have an older residential community that have been there building their particular place. And they have, younger communities as well. So Takanini is an interesting place. It was always the forgotten suburb between Manukau City and Papakura City District Councils back in the day. It sort of was in limbo, getting pushed from one council to another. And while it's experienced all of this growth, it has continued to feel a bit isolated on its own. So I've been really enjoying spending time down there, albeit there have been difficult conversations around the land acquisitions for this particular project and now for the frequent traveller network that's going to be implemented. So I appreciate the Chair's recs that you've put up and appreciate the projects being put forward. I know we'd like to see those level crossings done a lot sooner, but, you know, some things are not financially doable and other things aren't physically doable. But, you know, the stars may align and they may get brought forward again. So thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Newman. Please.
Councillor Bartley is rightly raising the issue of the Glen Innes station, but in terms of the sequencing of this, really it's the station access opportunities that would come first, and I think I think Councillor Bartley can take some comfort, and she should, because Glen Innes does need this support as well, and this will be part of that, and I think that's a good outcome for the people on the eastern line of Glen Innes. Chair, Your Worship, I want to thank the Papakura local board members who have expressed their view today. That's really good. Thank you for the discussion last night in relation to Chair's recommendations, including B, actually, I think, including G. I think the wording in there actually came from me, but you were very indulgent with that. Thank you, Chair. Because I do think, with respect to the design of those bridges, that the bridge pilings are going to need to be boxed with planting, etc., because it is going to be quite a substantial and impactful visual change in that particular corridor, those bridges, as opposed to the underpasses. Your Worship, you are right to express concern about the cost of this, and this is a substantial cost. The report to the NZTA board, I think it's going up to the NZTA board on the 2nd of April. I think that the recommendation passed today will be very helpful and additive to that. This will be one of several significant transport investment opportunities in that wider area. There's another project that you might be familiar with too in Mill Road that we obviously want to proceed. But I do think that there is a need, because I know that Grant Sexton and Peter Beckley from Auckland Transport are already in discussion with those affected property owners. I think that after the 2nd of April, if that goes well, that will allow for hopefully prompt closure, which is quite important to those affected property owners, and obviously with any surplus land to be able to hopefully offer back so that we can hopefully reduce some of the costs that incurred on us. So thank you very much for your support, Chair.
Thank you for that. This was the items F and is about reinforcing our capital spending rules. We just want to get things done that are of a good value. So, Councillor Darby.
Yeah, just briefly, the big outcome here is that this is a system decision. This is not just a localised Takanini Papakura, and I hear the submissions from the board here today, but all the boards should be applauding this investment, because this makes the rail system right across Auckland hum. Travelling the southern motorway, even with the new 3-laning from Drury, Councillor Baker will be aware, it's already at capacity. And this is a part of Auckland where people have an unintended motoring mortgage. They are remote from reliable public transport in the large, even though we have invested there. This actually brings an outcome that they're dying to see, which is public transport on the rapid transit network become reliable and frequent, and it really makes that part of the network sing and the whole of the network sing. So this is a win for people who want to get out of their cars and actually start moving around to places of enjoyment, to education, to work, and as they have not been able to before. And the other big outcome here is safety. We know that the statistics, ugly as they are, at vehicle crossings with crashes, pedestrians particularly. This helps alleviate that, at least in this area, with separation. So this is a big win for those that are public transport users and those that want to be public transport users and those that want to move around those parts of our communities safely near the railway lines.
Thank you for that. I've got no more input, so I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. To the contrary, carried. Thank you very much for that. And thank you for your attendance there from the Papakura Local Board. diving back to item 6, which is extraordinary items, I've none raised. Item 7 is the status update on action decisions from the governing body. It's information paper, really. We're all shuttling backwards and forwards, but anyhow, where are we? Do I have a mover and a seconder for that, Deputy Mayor and Ms. Barkley? Alf Filipino, thank you. All those in favour, please say aye. No, contrary carried. At which stage we go to